EL 机制还存在吗？为什么连胜之后就总是会排到奇怪的队友？
以后有没有可能把海克斯的玩法融入到峡谷里面？
故意送人头加恶心队友呢，还是说也是一种玩法？我看了一下，这种举报绝对不会被封号。
有没有想优化一下那个加分减分机制？
有没有办法把这个虫子就是删了，或者说改一下？
我自己是感觉在装备的系统上面的丰富度非常的不够。
那有没有考虑过在商店里面加入更多的蓝色精粹可以购买的商品呢？
有没有考虑让这些老英雄的老玩法就是回归
？It's been an exciting year for League of Legends in 2025.
女士们、先生们，这里是成都东岸湖体育场，您正在收看的是2025一起来到全球总决赛了。
We debuted a new concept around seasons where we could create these thematic experiences that tied the in-game and out-of-game experiences together in a tightly way.
So we created champions around seasons. We'll like to talk about Zahen, who is our newest champion. You've probably seen him in the CGIs around Worlds.
The same goes for all of the skins that we've created for the Welcome to Noxus season, as well as Spirit Blossom. It's been an honor to be in Chengdu and be able to release Panda Pal Lux for all of our players and fans here. A portion of the proceeds will be going to charity to really support and amplify all of your unwavering support and passion.
Gameplay balance front, we've not only made a lot of changes to Summoner's Rift, we also brought back Arena for an extended run and added Hextech ARAM as a thing that we knew Chinese players would enjoy. We really love and value our Chinese players, and we not only have Chinese social media accounts to communicate with you all.
而且在英雄联盟 Worlds 15周年的时候，我们又来了中国。
And just like MSI last year, we're here today to talk to our players.
We'd like to share this year's work with our Chinese player base.
We hope to build a brighter future of League of Legends with all of you. We're so happy to be here to meet with all of you, and we're excited to have questions and chat, so let's get started.
设计们你们好。我想问的就是新赛季的话，主要会针对哪些分路进行改动？然后包括厄塔韩它这样一个野怪会不会进行删除？
It's a great question, and we're thinking through what about League needs to adapt to the needs of a new generation of players while ensuring that our existing players like you who've been playing for years, still feel love and treated well and still have that good gameplay. So we're exploring everything at this moment. That said, MLH can talk a bit about experiments we want to do in gameplay in the near future.
We do a little bit of a mix of opportunities and problem solving. What are the major problems in the game, right? Like things that players have told us a lot about is things like, for example, hard supports and soft support balance, or just like roaming champions, or jungle being too strong, or like AD carries being too weak, or top lanes being too not influential, or junglers always pathing from top lane to bottom lane. You know, things like these types of problems are things that we want to try and solve in seasonal changes. And also just like, I think that there's the strategic layer of the game, so things like split pushing or sieging or team fighting has become very overloaded for jungle players in particular. You know, it's a lot about Riot telling junglers what to do to go from objective, you know, take Void Grubs, then take Rift Herald, then take Dragon, then take Articon, then take Dragon again, and it just feels very heavy for the jungler's burden. And so those are some examples of the types of problems that we would be thinking about when we're going into seasonal development. So I'd say we want to make sure that anytime we do a seasonal patch, that we fix a significant number of these problems. Oh, lane swaps as well, yeah.
就是设计师你好，我是一个来自 B 站的 UP 主，现在比赛里经常存在换线的这一个情况出现，然后哪怕设计师把它往后延了1分钟，但还是有很多队伍选择换线，所以说我想问设计师怎么看？
Yeah, so kind of as players have gotten a lot better at the game, it's become a lot more difficult to play laning phase as weaker champion. And so in the pro game especially, there are a lot of these types of weak laning paired champions that find it very difficult to play. And so it's not really a change that kind of was made by us, but a lot of players getting better at the game. in order for us to fix it, it would require some really fundamental changes to the game, and so we kind of had to do a band-aid fix for the World Championship this year. So we agree that it's a problem, and we really want to fix it, and we have some plans like kind of to fix it. Yeah.
游戏内的运营就是只有一个打法，就是虫子快刷的时候，可能6分钟、7分钟左右就提前换线，就为草丛准备。有没有办法把这个虫子就是删了，或者说改一下？这种节奏感觉是，就我只能说，我做一个就职业选手，就其实比赛挺无聊的，其他的。
One of the things that we wanted to try to do with Void Grubs, but didn't ultimately succeed, was we wanted to make it easier for top laners and mid laners who had influence over the map to go and take a Void Grub by themselves. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to strike a good balance of that because it was too hard for top laners to go and take Void Grubs. Like, they would take too much damage. If we made it do less damage, then it would be too easy for junglers to take and things like that. So it was very difficult for us to achieve the design goal that we set out with for Void Grubs. But to me, it doesn't feel like you always have to be at Void Grubs at 8 minutes when they spawn, you know, like there's a little bit of flexibility there, and I think that's healthy. I think that there's kind of an interesting situation when every year or every season, like in this case, you know, 2025, feels like it was a season about pushing and playing for Void Grubs and playing for Rift Herald and things like that. I think that's healthy for the game. So we want to take a lot of the learnings that we had from this season and like adapt them to the future. And of course, yeah, lane swaps is something that we're not very happy with, like I talked about before. And I do think that it's something that we really want to have a high priority on solving. So, yeah.
设计师你好，自从辅助工具装改版之后，然后辅助就多了很多的非常规的英雄选择，比如说蜘蛛、波比、青钢影等类型的英雄。然后辅助对线也不如游走好赢游戏，间接导致了软辅在高分段登场率越来越低。所以我想问设计师有没有回调工具装的想法？
Yeah, I would say that overall right now we're not super happy with the state of supports. We think overall that supports are both too powerful, and there's also too much of an imbalance between hard supports and soft supports within the support role itself. So on the top end, the roaming supports like you know, like Alistar and these types of champions are like too powerful, while the weakest supports are like too weak. This is something that we think is not just a simple balance issue. Like, we would not be able to just buff the champions that are weak because those champions are also just like too strong for regular players. You know, like regular players are very good at using these soft supports compared to high elo, where high elo roaming, face checking, engaging team fights becomes way more important as a game output. So this is overall to say, I agree that there's a lot of like really not desirable power imbalances within the support role. So this is something that we think is a very immediate problem for us to solve.
我自己是感觉在装备的系统上面的丰富度非常的不够，我也可以在自媒体上面看到有人在教大家公式的触装。为什么让装备的系统在我觉得这个非常重要的多样化，在我看起来最近的版本是非常匮乏的。
I would say that overall we agree with the assessment, and this is some similar conclusions that we came to ourselves. One of the things that we wanted to do was a lot of new players and people that were coming back to the game were reporting that the item system was too complicated, and that was a major reason for them not wanting to come back to the game. But I think what we realize now is that now items have lost a lot of their interest, and that's not the right way to help players get back into the game. So I think our new design philosophy is more about continuing to make items a lot more interesting, because making the item system less complicated both didn't help new players get back into the game and also made experienced players feel like the item system sucks.
设计师您好，就是我想问一下，接下来上的一个又帅气又强势的一个Zahen这新英雄，请问他这个新英雄的这个设计思路是怎么来的？
So when we started thinking about Zahen, we knew at the start we wanted a Darken, but then we went through the visual exploration route, and in particular, some of our talented artists got together, and they made a spread of them, different weapons, things like that. And we just instantly kind of gravitated towards Zahen, where he has kind of like a Guangdou as a weapon. We thought that was going to fit him really well. And then he also had kind of this fallen angel vibe, like big wings. So that was kind of the initial exploration. And then from there, we wanted to make sure that Zahen's like very unique among Darken. So Darken are usually known for like malice, like a lot of rage, a lot of fighting. And so we went kind of that opposite direction for Zahen, where he's more enlightened. We have kind of those third eye elements, And then again, going back to the Guangdou, it's really, really resonant as a weapon for us because we thought it can be both elegant but very powerful. So that was kind of the genesis of Zahen.
设计师你好，我想问你们的问题是，就是关于那些被重做的英雄们，其实他们的有一些老英雄的玩法也很有意思，比如说剑姬、阿卡丽、卡特、诺手这些英雄，有没有考虑让这些老英雄的老玩法就是回归，或者说一个英雄能有多个选择性玩法，可能有更多的这种博弈性吧？我觉得。
That's a really great question. So I started in season 2, so I still remember, when Graves was an ADC or Sion had that point and click stun. Felt like you were stunned for 5 seconds. It was terrible. But I also emphasize a lot, like you grow up with those champions, you love them. And so this is something that we have talked about internally. We chat about it actually fairly often. And so we've done some initial investigations, and kind of the two main barriers that we're still trying to think about a lot is like one, what does it mean for skins? So does that mean you have to create an entirely new skins catalog, things like that? And then part of it is also our tech is unfortunately sometimes a little more difficult to work with. So this is like a really interesting idea that we've already internally talked about and done some investigation on.
Yeah. One of the other things that we could experiment with and have been experimenting with, so for example, there's Fiora's ultimate in Arena, and these are like, because the old assets are like very difficult to kind of recreate and bring back to the modern game, but in these alternate modes, we can bring a lot of these types of experiences back. So these are also areas where I think it's going to be a lot more achievable for us to bring that like old player feeling of nostalgia of playing the old things that you love. So I would say that that's a continued area of investment for us. Yeah.
设计师你好，我想问一下，就是有没有想优化一下那个加分减分机制，根据玩家在本局游戏内的对局表现来进行更多的加减分，然后给单排玩家提供更公平的游戏对局。
Yeah, so right now we have a lot of strong focus on matchmaking that we've been engaging in over the course of this year and over the course of next year. One of the things that we're really interested in is both getting down queue times, also increasing match quality, but we don't have at this moment kind of plans to include performance in LP evaluations. One of the reasons why is because League is a very complex game, and it's really difficult to kind of attribute someone's performance directly to their ranking increase and decrease. So you can think of, say, for example, an Alistar who's 0-10, but always finding good engages for the team, tanking a lot of damage. It's really hard for us to directly attribute, especially at the end of game, this 0-10 Alistar like carried the game.
设计师你好，我想问的是关于机制的问题，就是 ERO 机制还存在吗？为什么连胜之后就是总是会排到奇怪的队友？
Yeah, so I've been very up to date about the theories about the ELO system. I think I would definitively say that we don't do any type of manipulation of matchmaking like this. One thing that the only thing that we do basically is that we matchmake on MMR and MMR only. If you look at the teams before the game and you were to flip a coin, it would be equal whether you find heads or tails. Now the thing with flipping a coin is that over a long series of flipping coins, let's just say you flipped a coin 1,000 times, you would have a lot of situations where you would just flip 5 heads in a row or flip 5 tails in a row. Which means like you would have a lot of situations where you would just have 5 wins in a row, or you would just have 5 losses in a row. You might even have 9 wins in a row or 9 losses in a row. And I would challenge anybody to actually do that and record their results, because I'm so confident that we don't have it, that you could flip 1,000 coins, you could play 1,000 games, and the results would be very similar.
设计师你好，我想问个简单的问题啊，就是为什么今年会选择赵信作为今年的冠军赛皮肤
where we really wanted to make sure that the world's experience was integrated into our seasonal experience as well. It's something that we hadn't done before. I think we're getting a lot of feedback from players with Shinzao and have a lot of learnings for next time. But the intent for both Shinzao as well as the Spirit Blossom Hui skin for MSI was to integrate these large international esports moments with the seasonal experience that we have in game as well. So it was a new experiment this year with our seasonal model, and we're going to be taking the learnings from this and then applying them next year. So we might do the same thing next year. We might do something a little bit different. It's something we're actively discussing.
英雄联盟的商业皮肤有没有考虑做一些 IP 联动，比如和这些流行的 IP， 还有一些流行文化？
One of the things that's really important for us when we're thinking about collaboration, so I think LV or Bape in particular, the approach that we took there is, does it feel like a really natural fit for League of Legends? And does it blend into the broader catalog and the world that we're kind of building without detracting from it? And so it's a difficult balance that we're always trying to strike, and we're interested in experimenting a little bit more in this space because we haven't done a lot with collaboration since we did True Damage back in 2020. But it is definitely something that we're always thinking about and are having a lot of conversations about what that should mean for League of Legends. What would our approach be? How would that be different? Based off of the goals that we have for both the game as well as the IP. So definitely something we're thinking about, but nothing quite on the horizon just yet.
然后我想请问的是，目前大部分玩家实际上是不缺少蓝色精粹的，那有没有考虑过在商店里面加入更多的蓝色精粹可以购买的商品呢？还有就是神话精粹的获取难度可能会比以前要高了很多，然后也希望可以去调整一下。
Blue Essence has been a really interesting thing that we've been thinking about a lot too. We've been trying to introduce different exclusive offerings for Blue Essence Emporium. So definitely understand the player pain there and are looking for ways to provide interesting content that can be purchased through Blue Essence at all times. Definitely something we're thinking about and want to continue to explore in the future. In terms of Mythic Essence, this is an interesting one. We spent this last year changing acquisition for Mythic Essence and exploring new ways of distributing content that we haven't really explored in the past. So we know that Mythic Essence acquisition is one of the pain points that our players have as well. So as we're thinking about all of our currencies, not just Mythic Essence, not just Blue Essence, we are always thinking about them and will continue to be experimenting with different ways to acquire and spend these currencies in the future.
我想聊点就是游戏惩罚触发这个机制的问题。其实我想问你们一个问题，比如说举个例子，随便举个例子啊，我玩了一个辅助老鼠，我是老鼠，然后一级去对面野区跟对面打野自爆，然后我死掉了，这把游戏基本上已经输掉了。那你们是怎么看这个人的这样子的玩法？是觉得是这是故意送人头在恶心队友呢，还是说也是一种玩法？因为正常现在游戏我看了一下，这种举报绝对不会被封号。
Yes, so I would say that we, in general, especially for the ranked solo environment, we want to take a very aggressive stance about disruptive behavior. We've been focused a lot on trying to find automated ways to find these types of behaviors that are very, I would say, distasteful. Like, I would say that the Twitch doing that is like not really something that we would like. And so, for example, like, you know, if you're stealing your jungler's jungle camps or just like selling all your items or like following your teammates around, these are things that we intend to punish and are also actively punishing today, and we want to ramp it up a lot more. I think one of the ways that we are trying to roll out these detections, and we've been rolling them out slowly over the course of the year, is we want to make sure that we're over 99% accurate. So that means that in the short term, there are a lot of behaviors that are just going to go through because we're only catching the most egregious behaviors right now. But through the course of 2025 and 2026, especially as our technology gets better, we intend to catch more and more behaviors. And that's a technology that we're still actively building, but we intend to roll it out soon. And that is kind of like going to continue to be a major focus for us. So even if Twitch is not punished today, we hope that he'll be punished in, you know, like a few months because that's like reflecting our intent. Yeah.
我借鉴云顶跟斗魂呢，做了一些比较好玩的娱乐模式。简单来说，就是把海克斯的 buff 加入到了峡谷里面，然后反响也非常不错。所以我想问一下各位，以后有没有可能把海克斯的玩法融入到峡谷里面？
Yeah, I would say it's a very interesting and highly requested idea. You know, we've had a lot of alternate game modes in Summoner's Rift, from like the Assassin game mode to One for All and all of these different things. I think a lot of these modes are also very community inspired. In fact, like one of the reasons why we wanted to bring multiplayer practice tool to League of Legends was because we were inspired by things like Bukogor's like Olympic Games video, for example, right? It's just like, wow, that must have taken 100 hours to like film that video, for example. And we want to make it easier for people to make these experiences. And I think in particular, if you guys find something that is really desirable and really enjoyable, and your viewers are, you know, having a lot of fun doing these types of game modes, like it will catch our attention. And really, like things like ARAM were really born from the community making these types of experiences. Sometimes we don't have a lot of time to investigate, you know, all of these different things at once. And so, you know, if we have a jump start and understand what the community likes, because your community really enjoys engaging in these types of ideas, it will really give us ideas to also try and bring these opportunities to Summoner's Rift. Yeah.
新出的海克斯大乱斗玩家反馈丰富又好玩，那可不可以加入成就系统？比如说斗魂竞技场出的时候，它有1级角斗士、2级角斗士，可不可以加入一些什么1级乱斗士、2级乱斗士这种？谢谢。
One of the things that we think is very powerful for just helping players feel accomplishment is things like the title system or challenges or progression systems in general, like the fame system in Arena. We thought a lot about what that might look like for ARAM, and we did actually do a lot of exploration into that. And so it's an area that we're still very interested in the future, but yeah, right now we just don't have anything.
就是我想问一下，因为目前海克斯大乱斗已经来到了第2个版本嘛，就未来有没有可能会推出像是手游里面有的这种英雄专属的海克斯，或者是斗魂里面有的人彩装备，让大家可以在海克斯大乱斗里面来得更为疯狂一点？
Yeah, so I would say we were relatively conservative with our release of Hextech ARAM. We were a bit scared that actually League of Legends players might find these types of like crazy power fantasies like too much and feel like, you know, if a champion had, you know, like very game-breaking augment combinations, that they might feel like it's unfair. So far though, players have responded very well to, you know, someone just being so humongous that, you know, like they just take over the whole map, or having, you know, like 30,000 health and things like that. And so that's definitely a learning that we want to take forward into the future. We think that we can push the boundaries more. Some of the inspiration that, you know, I wouldn't say that we have immediate plans to do, but like we would take a lot of inspiration from the pro player augments that Wild Rift just added, you know, like Faker and Uzi and the Shy had augments that were very interesting. So like a lot of these design spaces, I think we feel now more confident that we can experiment in and make just a lot more crazy stuff that people will find very exciting. Yeah.
像海克斯大乱斗或者是斗魂立场这些模式会进行常驻吗？
Yeah, I would say that as you all know, like the China player base was very instrumental in us bringing back Arena for a longer run. You know, we saw all of the players, you know, queuing up for PBE when Arena came down, and so we're going to continue kind of taking it step by step. Like one of the things that can be a bit dangerous is like modes tend to have a very strong initial engagement spike and then like drop off like quite quickly. Now, Arena and Hextech ARAM have like not really had as much behavior like that as, you know, other modes, but we always need to be careful about, oh, if we make this permanent but then players stop playing it, then we can get into like pretty bad situations like with Twisted Tree Line where nobody played it by the end. We want to make sure that we have, you know, a good long-term strategy for like how we're going to maintain the mode, you know, like how often do we do big updates to the mode, how often do we add new content, you know, like does it need its own progression system, does it need its own like, you know, reward system and things like that. And so if we make a mode permanent, like it needs to have those types of things associated with it, and that's a very long-term investment for us. So if we do it, we need to make sure that it's very well considered and it's the right thing to do for everybody. Yeah.
Hi, thank you guys for coming today. It was really awesome to see all the different questions that you guys have for us, and it gives us a lot to think about and helps us also validate that the things that we are thinking about and the problems we're trying to solve are also important to you.
谢谢你们到了我们的活动. Really appreciate a lot of the questions. I think it's really important for especially the Chinese audience to like keep us honest, right? And to tell us very clearly what is happening in the game environment. We're really committed to making the game environment and League of Legends, so just keep doing that, and we'll come along on that journey with you.
For me, it's always so invigorating to see how excited and how invested all of our Chinese players are. I think that's actually one of the best parts of kind of working on this game, is just seeing the passion, how much you all care. That's how we together make the best game. So thank you again for taking the time to chat with us.
I think I'm going to get a little emotional. We've come here, we've been working on this game for many years. We live in Los Angeles and we make League. And to be here in person with you all who are part of the League community, huge parts. This game is a part of your life just like it's a part of ours. And I'm sitting here in this cool tea house here in China, and I'm just like, how are our lives connected right here? It's through our shared love of this game. So for you guys to come here and just share your heart about why it's important to you, why you want it to be better, it's like really meaningful to me. Like League of Legends bonds us from across the world, and you guys are such a passionate part of the community. Like one of the reasons why like Arena came back is Chinese players came back, were like wanted it back, or they were playing on the PvE. That sent a message back home, and that happens all the time. So I just want to say thank you. Like, thank you for doing what you